This is a brief presentation on program design in recreational therapy. This is meant to be an introduction to how program design works for entry-level students who are looking to learn more about recreation therapy and understand how the recreation therapy process goes. Objectives for this presentation are that you will know the four, I added a fifth, elements of program design. 2, that you will know the difference between comprehensive and individual program design. And 3, that you will be able to identify types of comprehensive and individual program design, or examples of those. So here's a few vocabulary words that are important to understand as we embark on this presentation together. A program versus a service. A program is a pre-planned intervention consisting of experiences with definitive outcomes. An example of a program would be an arts and crafts group or an exercise program for an individual. A service is an exchange between the TRS and the client in the helping relationship that might be intangible yet promotes client growth and well-being. So these are usually one-on-one, non-pre-planned interventions, or if they are pre-planned, they are geared towards promoting client growth and well-being. So this may be a prescription from the doctor in the agency that asks you to do some one-on-one work with an individual. Theory-based practice. In recreational therapy, we practice according to, there are a number of theories that guide our work. And so the use of theory framework to guide our practice, which helps determine programs and service will best contribute to those outcomes, is what theory-based practice is. And you'll learn more about theories as you progress through the recreation therapy program. It is important that we use theory-based practice to ensure that that we're on the right track, that we are upholding our agency and our department's values, and theory helps guide us towards our intended outcomes as well. Protocols, you'll learn more about these as you progress as well, are written procedures to implement specific programs and or services by diagnostic category or intervention type. So for example, there might be a written procedure about how to do an intervention or work with someone who is dealing with dementia. And there would be a diagnostic protocol or procedures written for that purpose. Another example might be exercise program. So there might be an exercise or a weight room protocol that will help us to know the procedures for implementing an intervention in the weight room. Outcome measure. This identifies the degree to which the client will benefit from program participation as stated in the objective statements. So this is similar to an objective. So when we talk about goals and objectives, but this is the degree to which the client will benefit from the program. So we measure, there's an exercise program, what outcome measures would be appropriate for my client and how do those fit in with their objective statements? It's an outcome measure. Task analysis is listing in sequence the skills required to perform a particular activity successfully. This is helpful in identifying outcome measures. This is helpful in planning a program. So let's go on to understand how these different vocabulary words apply to program design. Elements of program design for both individual and comprehensive program design. This may look familiar because this is the recreation therapy process, the API process. So we will use assessment, planning, intervention or implementation, evaluation, and the fifth one that I added is documentation. And we'll be using all of these in program design. Comprehensive program design. This is the creation of programs to meet an agency's overall need. This takes into account all of the individuals receiving services at the agency that you're working with. So, as we assess, when we're designing a program, a comprehensive program, we use the assessment process to assess client needs, client preferences, personnel available, and department resources available. In the planning phase, we take into account the agency's and the department's mission statement, vision, and values. These are generally included in what's called the written plan of operations. Each recreation therapy agency or department should have a written plan of operations. And so everything that we do should contribute to the vision, mission, and values of our agency and our department. So as we're planning programs, we need to ensure that our programs fit within those parameters. When we're doing planning, task analysis is an effective way of writing out how we are going to do what we will do and how people can identify whether this program is appropriate for their clients. We need to ensure as we're planning that our program is theory-based, evidence-based. We need to include protocols and outcome measures so that people know that what we're working for, how to do it, and that it is evidence-based. In the intervention and implementation process, we deliver the program, we monitor progress and outcomes for clients, and we modify as needed. In the evaluation phase, we collect data, we report the results. Notice the D part, the document. We're going to document the effectiveness, and we're either going to revise the program, we're going to continue the program with modifications, we're going to discontinue the program, or we're going to develop new programming based on the data that we have received from this program. So some examples of comprehensive program design. I worked as a recreational therapist at Montana State Hospital, and there my supervisor encouraged me to take the first 2 to 3 weeks to try and understand what holes were in our TR programming that I could fill. What were areas in which our clients had needs that we were not meeting as a department. So as I did that, I came up with a few ideas, and I went through this process of assessing, planning, implementing, and evaluating. And one of the programs I implemented was called Y-Try. It was fun and successful. As I went through this process and as I continued working, I found that there were gaps in our treatment. So I worked with other personnel around the Montana State Hospital campus to work to fill some of those gaps with comprehensive program design to help meet the needs of all of our clients. Some other examples would be an exercise program. So at Montana State Hospital, we had different levels because we had different levels of functioning. So we had a basic walking group, we had a sports group, we had weightlifting groups, and we had more intense exercise groups, all to help meet the needs and provide the services that our clients needed. Individual program design. Again, we're going to use the API process. In assessing, we're going to collect baseline data in their cognitive arena, social arena, physical arena, spiritual arena, and psychological arena. And we're going to summarize the strengths and needs. So as you continue through the TR program, if that's what you're going to do, you will have a course focused on assessment and how to assess these things. For now, as you're writing treatment plans, it's a good idea to look at each of these areas of functioning when you're looking at the clients that you're working with. And when you are doing your summary, to include information from each of those areas as well as their strengths and their needs. Planning. When we're planning for an individual program design, we are looking at long and short-term goals and objectives. And so how those fit together is sometimes long-term goals have their own outcomes or their own objectives. Sometimes short-term goals work together to complete a long-term goal, and objectives work together to complete a short-term goal. This is really dependent on the agency and how they structure their planning phase. It's important to know that these things work together to help your client progress and achieve what they need to achieve. So in the planning phase, we're also selecting modalities, also known as interventions. We're identifying any contraindications or precautions for our clients. Why would my client not be able to be in a weightlifting class? And if they were, what precautions would I need to take to keep them safe? And then, as we're planning, we are scheduling services and programs for an individual client based on the assessment, their strengths, their needs, based on contraindications and precautions. Intervention implementation. We're going to begin the program, we're going to monitor and document progress, and then we're going to adjust as needed. At Montana State Hospital, as people increased in their functioning or improved in their functioning, they needed an adjustment in their programming. So we would take them out of some of the quote-unquote lower functioning groups and put them in some of the higher functioning groups to meet their needs and help to challenge them and help them to progress. So that constant process is always a part of the process. Evaluation. We're determining if our outcome measures were met. We're reporting, and here's the D, documenting our results. We're revising our plan as needed, and we're developing discharge and transition or referral planning as our clients are progressing. Examples. You will be in one of the courses here in the future working on an individual program plan for a client. This is another course in the set of courses that are required to become a recreational therapist. And you're going to include all of these phases in that plan. Again, at Montana State Hospital, I had clients who started with only on the unit groups. So we would do social skills on the unit, we would do arts and crafts on the unit, and I'd do a little exercise class in the courtyard on the unit. And it was pretty low impact. And they would progress. I had some progress all the way to where they were helping me choose which programs they felt would help them achieve their goals. And so it's a consistent process. So let's look at the process. The input is the the assessment and the planning. So that's the structure that we create to help the TR process work. The process, or what happens, is that we implement or we intervene. The output is what happens, or the outcome. So we measurable change in client functioning and well-being, and we're hopefully reducing illness or disability impact. And as we measure these things, it becomes a feedback loop, as you can see with the orange arrows, to our input and our process. So what are we learning from our outcome that impacts our assessment or our planning? Or what are we learning in our evaluation that impacts our implementation or evaluation? This is a part of the program design process, is that we are constantly changing and adapting to the needs of our clients. So review. What are the 4 or 5 elements of program design? That's the API process. What is the difference between comprehensive and individual program design? It's an agency plan meeting the needs of all versus meeting the needs of an individual. Types of comprehensive or individual program design. An exercise program is an example of comprehensive program design. Individual program planning is an example of individual program design. As you continue throughout your course again, you'll be working on these things and learning about how they work and how to implement them. This is the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to your instructor with questions and for clarification.